Hello again, Gills fans. Welcome back to the latest episode of Gills in Blood TV. It is Sunday, which means it is match day review at showtime. And as you can see, unfortunately, this week I am having to fly solo. Those germs that are floating around the south of England at the moment have made their way over to Germany. And unfortunately, Rhys is under the weather. So first of all, we wish him well and a swift recovery. So it will just be me looking back on Saturday's narrow 2-1 defeat at Stadium MK. I will try and keep this a bit shorter than normal, obviously, because it is just me. And you don't want to just listen to my dulcet tones all evening, certainly not for an hour. So we will do this in the usual way and start with 2 p.m. team news. Mike Williamson was very brave in terms of his setup. We spoke to a couple of MK Dons fans on the match day vlog before kick-off, before entering the stadium, and they were of the same opinion that it was a very attacking lineup. So they lined up as follows. It was Marshall in goal. It was a back three of Williams, O'Hora and Lewington. 4 in front from right to left were Tomlinson, Payne, Bate and Harvey. And then it was Alex Gilby and Dan Kemp tasked with flanking top scorer Max Dean. For the Gills, same formation that we've seen in recent weeks, a 3-4-1-2. It was Jake Turner in goal. Same trio of centre-backs, Masterson, Amer and Ogie. Wing-backs were Malone and Hutton. Dom Jeffries returned to the 11 to partner Ethan Coleman in the middle of the park, and it was Conor Mahoney in the 10, supporting a front two of Ollie Hawkins and the recalled Ashley Naderson. I think before we sort of get into the nitty-gritty and the talking points of the game, just to summarise, I felt that it was a game that Gills were never really under the caution. We certainly didn't deserve to lose based on what we saw in the ground in terms of territory and chances created, and the fact that we made them go backwards and square quite a lot. I know if you look at the stats, it says that they've had 65% possession or so, and they've completed probably sort of 40% more passes than us. But again, it begs the question, where did we make them make those passes? And you'd imagine that a lot of them were from their centre midfielders out to their wing backs or back to their centre backs and so on and so forth. It wasn't a game where you felt that MK Dons constantly cut us open and played through us and created chance after chance. But the big issue that we have again is in both boxes, and we've come up slightly short, and that's ultimately what has cost us the game. First half, like I said, Williamson's side were going to have more of the ball. They were going to keep it. They were going to dictate the tempo, and it was up to us to get in our shape and be solid and compact and pick our moments when to go and try and pinch it. There was a couple of calls in the ground early on shouting, go and get stuck in on the halfway line or the edge of the MK Dons box, and I thought you haven't got to do that. We only need to engage when they start getting into danger areas, and we were clever because we then created opportunities for them to make mistakes because they were getting impatient, and we had a really good chance early doors, didn't we, because they tried to overplay in a danger area, and Dom Jeffries managed to pinch it and give it to Conor Mahoney. Unfortunately, Conor Mahoney didn't have one of his best days, and he's leaning back from just inside the box and blazes one over the bar when he should have hit the target, I feel. But it was the first of some good opportunities for Gills in that first half. I think there was some really good build-up play from sort of left to right, which led to Romeo Hutton, who I thought had a really good game at wing-back, and certainly just got better and better as the game went on, and he put in a really good ball to the back stick. Ollie Hawkins, as your number 9 or 12, does exactly what you want him to do. He peels onto the back post and he gets up above his man, and it's a good header. I said at the time I thought it was just a standard save, but having watched it back a couple of times, it's a really good stop from Marshall because he hasn't got a lot of time to react, and he manages to get down and get a hand on it and put it out for a corner. There was another chance, weren't there, Dom Jeffries, and we've said so many times, myself, Rhys on match day review shows and me and others on match day lives, about being braver and shooting from the edge of the box, and it only ever seems to be Conor Mahoney or Ethan Coleman on a few occasions doing it. But Dom Jeffries, I thought, who was really good on the afternoon, he pinched the ball again and he drove through that midfield area, and he trusted himself and he trusted his weaker foot, and it was a left-footed drive that Marshall beat away again for another set play. But it was good intent, and I think the feeling in the ground was that the Gills were playing at a much better tempo than we did against Forest Green 7 days previously. We were doing everything that we should do, and we knew we had to be at our best to try and get something from this game because MK Dons are a good side, and they're a side that's built to play this way, and we're probably further back in our process of trying to be a side that can play that way. But I just felt throughout the first half we were never really in any sort of real danger. We kept MK Dons at arm's length. We restricted them to half chances. I think the three centre-backs, Ogie, Ema and Masterson, dealt with anything that came into our box. They headed it and they cleared it. Max Dean, for all his qualities, is not a target man type. He's not the biggest centre forward. And I think Jack Payne had one shot that was scuffed from the edge of the box. And there was a couple of other efforts that Jake Turner essentially fell on. Yeah, it was just, I thought it was a very solid first half. One that perhaps we should have led in, given the chances created. But it certainly gave us a foothold in the game. And it meant that we could approach the second period with real confidence. I think start of that second period, it was clear that Williamson had got into his players during the break because they come out a lot quicker. And we didn't. We sort of sat off and we just didn't quite look switched on for a few minutes. And very early on, there was a simple ball down the channel that went in between, I think, Hutton and Masterson. And it left us isolated one-on-one. And Dan Kemp done well to shift it onto his right foot. But it was a really comfortable save for Turner. It's one that if he lets through, you're going to be really disappointed in. It was a very comfortable stop. Yeah, and I think then it's probably fair to say that the MK Dons pushed us back as much as they did at any time during the game. And for 10, 15 minutes, we were having to defend our box. But we came out of it the other side again without any real alarms. And again, I come back to the point, we just never really felt like we was under too much pressure defensively. We was aware that they were going to have a spell and they were going to keep the ball and they were going to get into decent areas. But I come back to the earlier point, it never felt like they was constantly getting in behind, or Jake Turner was having to make loads of saves, or the centre-halves were having to do everything last ditch. Everything had a manner of control, and yeah, it was just a really good away performance, it felt, up to that point. And then we made a couple of changes and we got a bit braver and we started making opportunities of our own again. I think Conor Mahoney, who just wasn't in the game enough, I think he was asked to operate maybe a little bit deeper than is ideal for him. He came off. Ashley Nadesan, who had a poor day, came off and was replaced. Them two were replaced by George Lapsley and debutant Josh Walker, who we recently signed on loan from Burton Albion. And we came alive again. We'd already had to make a change just before half-time, hadn't we? Unfortunately, Ollie Hawkins had tweaked a groin. That's the diagnosis we've heard so far from Stephen Clemence. And yeah, there was a great ball in from Romeo Hutton, and you're going to hear that a lot during the second half. Macaulay Bond done well to flick it on. And I thought at the time it was Dom Jeffries that got blindside of his defender, but the club Twitter account says that it was Scott Malone. But either or, they get the right side in terms of being on goal, and then they just don't control the header and they head it over the top. I think if you hit the top, excuse me, you score, because such is the proximity of the header to the net that Marshall, I don't think, would have had time to react. So that was really frustrating. And then DJ, if it was his header, was involved again shortly after. I think the ball sort of pinballs around in the box. He's surrounded by two or three. I think generally there you lash a shot somewhere and hope that it either goes in or finds a way out for a corner. But Dom shows brilliant composure to realise that Romeo Hutton's coming up on his right-hand side. And what he does, he just feeds a ball into that area because he knows that Hutton's going to be able to run onto it. Hutton, for me, has to hit the target, I think. And that's a very small criticism of what was a very good performance. But I think he sort of thinks, oh, just flash it across the box. Someone should get a touch. I think Max Ema's in there. Macaulay Bond's in there. And unfortunately, it misses everyone and goes out to far side for a throw-in eventually. I just thought that Hutton, again, could have trusted his own ability and gone for goal. Because I think worst-case scenario is if Marshall saves it, he pats it down and then Amor or Bon have a tap in. But Gills were on the front foot again, creating chances. They were playing in the right areas. And at that point, it looked like we were the team that were going to go on and score the first goal. Unfortunately, we then got hit by a sucker punch, didn't we? There was a couple of corners that came in that we defended absolutely fine. We headed them away. We blocked anything that tried to come in. But then the third one was ultimately our undoing. Again, I think we do the first phase absolutely fine. The ball comes in, we clear it. I think then there might be a layoff for MJ Williams, who's a centre midfielder by trade, but playing at centre-back for MK Dons. I'm not sure whether that was through necessity or whether that was a tactical tweak on Williamson's part, because we've already said we knew that he was very attacking. I thought at the time it was a poor connection, and I thought Jake Turner could have got across. But having watched the highlights, it's a good finish. It's right in the corner. There's not too much, I don't think, that Jake can do about it. And suddenly, the same old questions about us mentality conceding first were coming to the fore. And could we find a way, like we'd done at Accrington just a fortnight ago? to get ourselves back in the game. I thought Clemence was brave. He made a couple of changes. He changed the shape, which was good to see. So we sacrificed a centre-half, which I thought we should have done last week at home to Forest Green and been braver against a side that are down the bottom. But Connor Masterson was sacrificed. Ethan Coleman, the defensive midfielder, was sacrificed. We chucked on Timmy Dieng and Johnny Williams. And it looked like we went to a diamond. So we had Jeffries, Dieng, Lapsley and Johnny as the four. And then the front pairing, obviously, of Macaulay and Josh Walker. Unfortunately, we conceded a really soft second within a couple of minutes of changing the shape. So there wasn't even an opportunity for the change of shape to have an impact before we were suddenly 2 goals down. It is poor from Shadogi again, unfortunately. He's young, he's enthusiastic, he's had a decent season, don't get me wrong. He does a lot right, but that's 2 in 2 weeks now, where if he just stays on his feet, we probably don't have to defend a ball into our box, and we certainly don't concede another goal. And I think it's fair to say that Ogie, unfortunately, has cost us 4 points in the last 2 games. That may sound a bit harsh, but I didn't think we was any real danger against Forest Green until after we conceded the leveller. And obviously 2-0 down with a couple of minutes to play made it pretty much impossible for us to get anything from the game, even though we did have a real go, because we just got left exposed. And then Alex Gilby's got a free run into the box, and it's a tap-in, isn't it? And that's the chance that goes in, whereas the Hutton ball across the box at the other end, we don't quite get on the end of, and it's fine lines, and we've got to find a way quickly to get ourselves on the right side of these fine lines. But credit has to go to Gills. They didn't let their edge drop, and they got right back into the game straight away, didn't they? And again, it was Hutton, good ball into the box. Tim Dieng just gets himself half a yard for his header. Keeper just pats it down into a danger area, like we mentioned earlier with the potential Hutton chance. And Josh Walker does what you want your centre-forward to do. Does what our centre-forwards, dare I say, have probably not done enough of this season. And he's alert to the ball bouncing off the keeper, and he just prods it over the line from a couple of yards. Game on, all of a sudden, with 5 minutes injury time to come. Did we believe enough that we could go and create another 1 or 2 chances and find a leveller, which I think would have been deserved on the balance of the game? We found the chance. And unfortunately, the crossbar was not our friend again. Copy and paste, it's brilliant delivery from Hutton, outside, right position. I think he was almost playing as a winger, wasn't he, at this point? He was so high, it was ridiculous, which was great to see. And I've said in games that we're chasing, I'd rather lose by 2 goals having a go than just sort of not offer anything and just let a game fizzle out. Macaulay Bond does absolutely everything right, peels off his defender, just gets across him, doesn't he? Glancing header. The keeper, Martial's absolutely rooted to the spot, but unfortunately it clips the bar and goes over. And a few seconds later, the referee blew up for full time, and we'd lost a game that we probably deserved something from. I think if you try and look at the positives and the negatives from the 90 minutes, I think the big positives are that we've got away to a side that's been good at home, that keeps the ball for fun, that's in a great run of form, that's a direct rival for the playoffs. And I think for large periods, we've made them look average. We've made them look pedestrian. We've made them go sideways and back. We've got ourselves into good areas and created opportunities for ourselves. And I think it's fair to say, if you play like that, you win more games than you lose. But on the flip side, it's the same old issues that continue to bite us on the backside. We've missed too many good chances. And then we've switched off at a key time when we're still in the game at 1-0 and made it very difficult for ourselves. And that's something that Shad Ogie's going to have to learn to eradicate from his game, I think. Because if he stays on his feet, either the ball comes in later, which means that Maxima, Ramo, Hutton and all those that are retreating can get back and get goal side, or he blocks the cross and it goes out for a throw-in or a corner and we can set ourselves and we're still in the match. But the fact that he goes to ground just means that everything happens quicker. And then you've got Gilby with the run on the defenders, and the defenders are having to run towards their own goal at pace. So even if Gilby doesn't get a touch, you've got half a chance that a defender's going to end up smacking it into his own net. So that's something that Ogie needs to eradicate quickly, because he's got a lot of good stuff about his game, and he suits the back three, doesn't he, that we play. But yeah, frustrating again, and that seems to be the watchword at the moment, certainly over the last 2 games. penultimate point is just looking at a couple of centre forwards that we've got at the moment, and obviously we've got too many. We've signed Josh Walker on loan, which means that 2 doesn't go into 5, does it? So if you're going to play a front pair, invariably you're going to have a pair on the bench, which means one misses out. Tom Nichols was the one that missed out this weekend. Potentially he could be off, I'd imagine. I can't see that we're going to stick with 5 centre forwards for the rest of the season, because you're going to have one missing out all the time, and that's, I don't think that's conducive to keeping a player happy. And Clemence has said a few times that he doesn't want people around that are going to be unhappy. He wants them to be allowed to go and play, and he's spoken quite passionately in his interview, which we'll get to, about the transfer window and should it maybe be longer, to allow players that are not in favour to go and find themselves a club, rather than just having 30 days to try and sort of move out. But the 2 that we want to talk about are Ashley Nadesan and Josh Walker, and I just thought it was very clear, the body language of the 2. Ashley Nadesan, for me, looks like a player that's absolutely shot of confidence, unfortunately, at the moment. So many times during the 55, 60 minutes that he was on, he'd get the ball in a good area, and there was just no self-belief to drive at defenders or pick a brave option. Everything seemed to be safe, panicked almost. And this isn't me digging out Ashley Nadesan. He's not scored a goal since August, when he came in and he was red hot. 3 goals, 3 games. And we thought, brilliant, we found a player here. We know that he picked up that injury at the start of October, and he's not been quite the same since. He's missed a couple of big chances in recent weeks, hasn't he? There was one just before Christmas where he went round the keeper and ran out of pitch. There was the header against Forest Green, which I thought he should do better with. For me, he's a player that just needs to be taken out the firing line at the moment. And just given a couple of weeks outside the spotlight, maybe if we can find a B team game for him to go and get some confidence back. Because you saw the difference when Josh Walker come on, and this is a player that's not scored loads of goals this season, but he's a player that's dropped a level, having been very good in the National League. Will want to prove a point, and just the energy and the willingness to run and close down and everything just looked so much brighter. And I'm not saying that Ashley Nadesan didn't try, not for a second, but I just think when you're struggling with confidence and form, that things just become a bit harder. And it just looked at times to me, for Nadesan, who we know is quick, he just looked like he was treading water all the time, whereas Walker was just more incisive in everything that he did. He got a shot off immediately, didn't he, after coming on, and it was blocked, so that could have changed the complexion of the whole result. Obviously, Poacher's finish for his goal that ultimately got us back into the game. And yeah, I thought it was a very promising cameo from the lad, and hopefully we see more of it. He was very confident in his interview, wasn't he, having joined, saying he wants to get between 5 and 10 goals. Well, it's a brilliant start. I just think at the moment they're just polar opposites in terms of what they can offer because of confidence levels. And let's hope that Nadders can get back to that if he is still around after the end of the transfer window. Finally, just want to talk about Stephen Clemence. I've had my opinions, others have had theirs. That's fine. I've said I've been maybe a bit harsh on him in at times during his reign, but I thought he was brave yesterday, Clemence, in terms of trying to change the system and being proactive, and trying to get us back into the game. As a coach, you can't legislate for Shadoghi making an error immediately after them changes, unfortunately. But I just want to touch on his interview afterwards, and I thought it was probably the most passionate I've seen him, because he was really frustrated and really fed up that we'd gone to a side. And I think he mentioned as well that MK Dons have not cut us open. They've not outplayed us at all. And essentially, we've been beaten by a good hit from the edge of the box and a defensive error, and a lack of being clinical in the other 18-yard box again. But he spoke about not wanting to be a nearly team and the fact that we have to make changes in terms of putting more chances away, because he believes in this group of players. He says they're good footballers. The fact that we're still in touching distance of the playoffs is a massive positive for me, and I've said that plenty of times. We're almost overachieving considering how much we've struggled in front of goal throughout the season again. Josh Walker, I think, will add to that. But others have got to start taking responsibility as well. Like I said, the Hutton chance, can he go for goal? Max Emar, for the one that Hutton flashes across the box, if you look at it carefully, can he just fling himself at it rather than just almost waiting for it to come to him? If he sort of just launches himself at it, he might hit him on the stomach, the knee, and end up in the net, because he's not going to miss from a yard out. But yeah, I really enjoyed Stephen Clemence's interview after the game. And that's the first one that I really have sort of got on board with. So fingers crossed that we see more of that. I think, having been here now 3 months, he knows more about his team and his squad. He's mentioned that there might be more incomings and a couple of outgoings, which is understandable last week of the window. But yeah, I was really impressed with Stephen Clemence yesterday in terms of being brave in game situations and trying to switch it up to get us back into the fixture. Unfortunately, to only be undone by a defensive lapse. And then I thought he spoke really well after the game in terms of his passion for wanting us to be better and believing in this group. So, like I say, fingers crossed that carries on. All in all, a frustrating afternoon, but with plenty of positives involved in that 90 minutes. We're not a million miles away, I don't feel, are we? But we've said that for a long, long time, and it does have to change, and it does have to change quickly so that we do come out on the right side of these fine lines in games. We don't get thrashed generally, do we? I think 4-1 under Keith Millen. There's been a couple of 3-1s. Aside from that, though, we're generally in football matches. Maybe Josh Walker is the man to unlock things. If he pinches a couple, then other strikers become more confident, and then they might go on a bit of a run as well. I honestly don't think we're that far away. Let us know on your thoughts on anything, regarding Josh Walker, Ashley Nadesan, Stephen Clemence, the game in general. Always want to know your thoughts. So yeah, comment down below. Reply on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, that type of thing. I love talking football. You know that. That's why I'm doing this. But yeah, as always, thanks for watching this far. Whether you're a Gills fan or an MK Dons fan, it really is appreciated. Please keep smashing that subscribe button. We are only 86 away now from 3,000 subscribers, which is frankly unbelievable. So thank you very much for the ongoing support. Winner of the beanie hats from FanHub will maybe have been announced by the time you're watching this video. So keep an eye on your socials to see if you've been tagged in anything from me. Like I say, when we get to 3,000 subs on the channel, there will be a big giveaway to say thank you for all the support. But until then, enjoy your week. I hope your Monday's not too bad. It's always horrible, isn't it, going in on the back of a defeat. And up the Gills.